Welcome to The New Monks. This podcast is dedicated to those of us on the journey of evolution. Through these episodes, we will dive into the lives of individual people and discover what they have learned and how they have handled their growth. In this episode, Niaby talks about her transition from working as a stockbroker to becoming a medium, and how illness urged this transition, her journeying with ayahuasca, which she has taken numerous times, being connected to her past lives now in this life, and dealing with the fear of humiliation from such a shift in career. And there's a lot of juice and gems that she talks about during that big transition. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you for inviting me here.
And wanting to be filmed.
I don't know about want. Not a fan of being filmed.
Okay, cool. So basically, usually the way we just start is just if you can just take a few deep breaths in.
Okay. Okay, I feel zen.
Nice. And then just tell us how you're feeling right now.
How am I feeling? A little bit nervous. It's, as I said, I'm not a fan of being filmed or doing any kind of public speaking of any sort. So slight nerves in the belly, which is ridiculous really, because it's only me and you. No one else is here.
It's good that you can feel it though.
Yeah. Other than that, all good. I said to you already, I've been feeling a little bit stressed recently.
Yeah.
I think there's something going on galactically with the stars and the moon at the moment, because it's quite unlike me to be feeling stressed and out of sorts like that. I'm normally very trusting the process. Everything's good. Everything's going to work out. But right now I'm like, it's like daggers in my head. So I've been trying to work my way back into a positive state of being at the moment. It's hard work. Once you get out of sorts, it's actually really hard work to bring yourself back. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel like maybe we can just start that right there. Yeah, obviously we've been talking about this now.
Got to repeat myself.
Yeah. But what is it you said, well, once you get out of sorts?
Yeah, so with me, I think for everybody, I think we are born into a world, a society, whatever, where we we're born into a world where we grow up with negative way of thinking. Like everyone's worried about everything, everyone's living in fear, everyone's stressed, everyone's tired. So we are literally, in this negative state of being from the day we are born. It's very easy for our negative thoughts to run wild. And I think one of the most important things that any of us can do for ourselves is to start to recognise that negative thought, the negative thoughts when it starts to happen, and to try and catch them and replace them with a positive. Yeah. And that can be really difficult, because obviously when our negative thoughts are really big and then we're trying to replace it with this one tiny little positive thought, and this one's going to just eat that one up. It's quite difficult to do sometimes, so it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of time. It's not something that can be changed overnight. But I know for myself, I've been working with this for quite a few years now. So I've got quite used to catching the negative thoughts quite quickly, and it's great. Like, it does work. It takes time, as I said. It takes a lot of hard work, but if you keep persevering, you do get there. But it's just so easy for things to get out of control again. For me this time round, as I've already explained to you, but this time round I got back from Bali, which obviously there's nothing negative about that, but I was jet lagged and a few things happened that normally I'd just be like, okay, well, let's work through this, let's be positive about it, let's trust in the process. But unfortunately, with the jet lag, I was going to sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, so you have that stressed feeling of trying to get back to sleep. obviously, you can't get back to sleep, so you get more and more irate, and then the things that have been bothering you start to pop into your head, and it's 3 a.m. and you're just like, everything's driving me crazy. And of course then, you don't get any sleep, you get up in the morning, you're tired, and it's when you're tired, it's very difficult to catch those negative thoughts before they get out of control. And it's something that I've really noticed about myself in the past as well, and I really do believe that this is something for everybody as well. I used to work as a stockbroker, so I was up early every morning, stressful job, out with clients every night, never had any time to myself. But my thoughts, I didn't realise how negative my thoughts were. But now that I'm not working anymore and I'm able to get up when I'm ready to get up, and I get up, I feel fresh, I feel good. So it's if a negative thought comes in, I just catch it. I'm feeling good about life. Life's great. But if I have to get up at 6 a.m. to go on a course, my mindset changes entirely because I'm tired. I'm too tired to catch the negative thoughts. I'm just like, I can't be bothered with this. It's too much effort, and everything's annoying me, and everyone's annoying me, and everything that would normally I'd be looking at it thinking, oh, this is all love and light, this is all great, and I'm like, so everything changes when you're tired. So for me specifically, because I had a few things going on and I had the jet lag, it just got out of control very, very quickly, and it became like the negative thoughts were like a pack of locusts that just got out of control. And luckily for me, I mean, I'm very, very conscious of this, so I'm working very hard to bring that back into alignment. But even with someone who's as conscious as I am about it, it's still a tough process. And as I say, I really believe that this is something that everybody in the society that we, our society is set up to keep us tired and to keep us, in fear and etc. So half of us don't even recognise that this is, I said half, I think I'm being generous there, way more than half of people in our society don't even recognise that this is what is happening all the time with our thoughts. And then with our thoughts we create. So, when you're in a healthy, positive state of being, you create a healthy, positive state of life. But when you're in the negative thoughts, it becomes even harder to get out of it, because not only are your own thoughts, going crazy in your mind, but you're then creating more negative situations in your life as well, which you're then having to deal with that and the thoughts on top. So it spirals out of control pretty quickly.
Like you said, about the train in the morning. But sometimes I wonder how much of it is in our control.
In terms of...
As in, obviously there's when you're completely unconscious, then it's not really in your control. But, I don't know, so you kind of described that you're in more of a, I don't know, stable... Balanced state of being. But maybe, and before that, when you were working, you weren't? Definitely not.
No, definitely not. And I was in a very negative state of being then, and I was wishing my life away. I was very sick, but I was sick for 6 years, which is what eventually forced me to leave my job as a stockbroker. I pushed through it for a long time because it was all I knew. That was my career. That's how I defined myself, and how could I possibly survive without all that money I was earning, and that's, I was trapped in that way of thinking, as many people are. I think we feel, when we're in that place where you're earning money, you think nothing's ever enough. But when you're doing a job that's stressful, you're, at the end of the day, you need to go out and have a massive drinking session to, release all the stress of the day. You want to be wearing the designer clothes and driving a sports car because you deserve it, because you're working hard for it. And you want a luxurious home to go home to relax in. And you want, the 5-star, luxurious holidays, because that's, you don't get many holidays, so when you do go away, you need it to all be amazing. So you find that you are spending a lot of money. Whereas actually when you're not working, your life's just not as stressful anymore, unless you create it in your own mind, of course. But when I'm going to change that to, I'm lucky that as a stockbroker I was able to earn enough money to allow myself the time to retrain and redevelop into something new, and to also get my health back. So I've been lucky that I haven't been working for a period of time. But for other people, I would, it's more about when you're doing something that you love and that you enjoy, you don't need as much money, because you don't need all those luxuries around it, because you're just loving what you're doing on a daily basis.
I think that's big.
And I think when you when you're doing something that you love, people do have blocks over being able to make money, but when you're passionate about something, when you're doing something that you love, the ability to then make the money, you know, that ability is absolutely there. But I think we've got it the wrong way around in our society, and we're taught from an early age through school that, you know, it doesn't matter what you're good at, what you're talented at, you know, it's about what is a sensible option for you to be able to make money, to give yourself this stable future. And I think we end up creating very broken individuals by doing that, because, you know, we have children who go through school thinking they're not good enough for the things that they're actually good at, and, you know, that if they're not good at maths or English or any of those things that are deemed to be, you know, the things that make you intelligent, if children aren't good at that, we maybe get like maths tutors or extra tuition and stuff to help them be better at the things that they're not good at, and they spend less time doing the things they are good at, and we create just very average individuals instead of somebody who's incredible at something. And I think that really is where the difference is. Like, we need to start realising that to be incredible at something, no matter what that is a beautiful thing, and to then go out into the world and bring that beautiful, incredible thing into the world in your own power. That's the most magnificent thing you can do, and it's the most magnificent thing you can do for your own soul. And, you know, if money, obviously we live in a world where people do need money, but I do genuinely believe that when you're doing something you're passionate about, you can bring the money around that.
I guess we're not really taught to even find what it is.
No, we're not. We're taught to lock that away, really, and to, as I said, just be average at everything, which is a real shame, because when people feel average at stuff or not as good at, you know, we're competing against each other, so I'm not as good as Johnny at English or whatever, but so then you actually, those insecurities grow, whereas you know, if you could just be, I'm amazing at this and you're amazing at that, and I respect you for that and you respect me for that,
even if we're doing the same thing.
Exactly. In fact, we're both great at something, so let's hold hands and do this together, and become even better at it together, or create something bigger together. But unfortunately we're taught to compete.
So now you say you're not working, but maybe like you're working in a different way. Yes,
I still set my days up as a working day. And I think people often say to me, but you're not working, how can you be so busy? But I'm so busy. That I'm doing, and I feel very grateful to the experience of what we were saying earlier about being sick. I genuinely believe I created all that through all of my own negativity, through my stress, through everything I was doing. I created all of that. But I genuinely believe that sickness was something that came to push me away, to push me, you know, into start to walk the right path, which I now absolutely know I'm doing. And I would never have left a job that I was, you know, not just comfortable, more than comfortable in. You know, I thought I'd made it. I was making all this money. I was doing great. I was out with clients, going to all the best restaurants and the best clubs. And as a 20-something, that was amazing. You know, what more could you want? But I think as you start to grow a little bit, and not just that, it was the connection with my soul that was missing. I guess I really felt like I'd sold my soul in that job, and I don't regret it for a minute. I had a great time doing it, and as I say, it's afforded me the ability to now move into something else. But yes, so I'm doing a lot of other stuff at the moment. So since leaving that job, I've started to develop as a medium. I see dead people. I really do. So that was something as a child that was there. But I guess kind of, as you go through the schooling system again, we get taught to go into a different part of our brain, into, you know, just into a different part of your being, I think. So I really forgot about everything that had happened as a child. And it was really in my teens, my later teens, that things started to come to me again. And I thought I was just partying too much. I thought I was losing my mind.
What was happening?
I was seeing spirit was coming to me a lot at night. So it'd be, I never knew how to, well, I used to explain it at the time because I had no idea what was going on. I used to explain it at the time, it's like I was in a different level of consciousness. So I would go to sleep and I'd kind of wake up in the night, but I wouldn't be awake. I'd be still half asleep.
Yeah.
And I could, my eyes would be closed. I could feel myself laying in my bed in the exact position I was laying in, but I would be seeing, but obviously not through open eyes. I'd be seeing people just walk around my room, and I now understand it as being almost, you know, I was at a different level of consciousness. That's how I was explaining it at the time. But it was like I was seeing into a different dimension, I guess, because I think we kind of think that we have this idea that, say, heaven, for example, we say, oh, heaven's up there in the sky, and we think it's up there, but it's not. It's just vibrating at a higher level to what we are vibrating in this very dense, not universe, very, very dense, like world or earth that we are on.
So did you have any communication back then, or was it just vision?
Yeah, well, what you said, I mean, they were definitely trying to communicate with me.
Wow.
It used to be like trying to pull my duvet off, or I'd sometimes wake up trying to respond to their questions. It was almost like I'd be trying to respond physically, and it would pull me out of the level of consciousness I was at.
Wait, say that again.
So I'd be I guess we'd be communicating on another dimension.
Okay.
And then as I was sometimes trying to physically communicate back, it would then pull me back into this physical realm that we're in. So it would wake me then from my sleep, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, what's just gone on?
This has happened to me before.
Has it?
Recently, yeah.
Well, it's something, astral travel is something that happens to all of us. So all of our souls leave our bodies at night. They all do it. It's just not all of us are conscious of this happening. And in actual fact, just so you know, people don't think that I've completely lost my mind, there is a lot of scientific evidence on this. There is a lot of scientific evidence on this as well. There was a group of scientists who wanted to work within, I forget the name of it now, but you know, wanted to work within the realms of stuff that can't be proven. I forget what's the word for that. I always do this. I forget words, but it will come to me. But to work with this kind of stuff, and they decided, you know, they knew that there's so much of this kind of stuff, but they decided to focus on astral traveling.
Yeah.
So I think they've been doing it for around 20 odd years now, and they've, you know, undoubtedly proven that this happens. And they actually run courses now where they teach people to consciously leave their body rather than just doing it at night. There's a lot of books that have been written about it as well. Yeah. So if anyone wants to, you know, to look further into it. But yeah, so this is something that we all do, and it's like, for anyone who's, you maybe become aware of it if I say things like this, but it's when you maybe feel like sleep paralysis. Or you feel like someone's sitting on you. If you're aware of flying in your dreams, that kind of thing, falling, all of that means that you've been astral traveling. And it just basically means that as your soul's leaving your body, and once it does that, it can go off anywhere to different realms and do all sorts of different things. But if you can become conscious of it, because a lot of the time what we do is we have that feeling of paralysis, or like and we're like, like you get scared and you want to pull yourself out. So by doing that, you're actually pulling your soul back into your body. But if you can become conscious of in the dream, oh, hold on a minute, I'm astral traveling. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? Then you can consciously control where you're going. And some of the adventures I've had on that have been amazing. Like I'm literally seeing myself come out of my body and go fly through the wall and off. And I've taken myself to so many different places that have been incredible. And really had some. And in fact, there's one experience I had. I volunteered in an orphanage when I first quit my job as a stockbroker. I went travelling in South and Central America, and I for about 10 years I'd always said like I want to volunteer in an orphanage, and I never understood why, because I wasn't really that kind of person back then. I was much more party girl and, you know, career girl, party girl. I didn't really care for anything else. I definitely wasn't, you know, I wasn't connected to the spiritual at all. But I just always had this feeling that I just wanted to work in volunteer in an orphanage. And when I was travelling, I actually split up with my long-term boyfriend over there, and I went and volunteered in an orphanage. And it was actually very expensive to volunteer there, and there were so many others that came up when I just typed into Google that was so much cheaper. But I was just like, I just know I have to go to this orphanage. And I met this beautiful little boy there. and we just had the strongest soul connection. As soon as we met, it was so incredibly strong, and really beautiful story about how he was basically like the naughty child, you know. He was always put in a corner, always being told off, wouldn't share with any of the other children, was just really disconnected from everything. And the connection that me and him had, he just came out of himself. It was incredible. He came out of himself. I taught him a little bit of, like, he didn't know how to speak before, so I was teaching him a little bit to how to speak, taught him to share with other people, just brought him into this like happier place. And then I had to leave, and then I came back, and I didn't realise, they didn't tell me until later on that he'd gone into a very dark place when I'd left. So then I just absolutely did not want to leave him. I was like, I'll stay here forever and ever. But I was kind of, I asked for a sign about whether I should go or not, and
go back to Zealand.
whether I should stay in the orphanage or whether I should leave, because I just wasn't sure what to do, because I would have literally stayed there forever. And I was looking at trying to adopt him. And I was asked to leave in the end, because they said that the connection we had was too strong and they didn't feel like it was fair. I mean, I was treating all the other children the same, but they just didn't feel like it was right. I don't think they really understood. They didn't understand soul connections, you know.
Yeah.
So I was asked to leave, and I was really worried about how that was going to leave him.
Yeah.
And a few days, maybe a week after I left, I had this really intense astral travel experience where I went to the orphanage and I sat with him, and I was just saying to him in this experience, like, I didn't want to leave you, I love you, I didn't want to abandon you, like, I'm always here, like, this connection's very real, except, like, I can't remember what else, but various things like that. And literally about a week after, 2 different people from the orphanage, completely separate of each other, got in touch with me and just said, look, we know you were really worried about him, and when you first left, it actually was, you know, he went into a very dark place, but literally overnight, he's suddenly become like this really happy child. And again, they got in touch again, and that was obviously just after this astral travel experience. So it's like the soul-to-soul conversation was there, which allowed him, even as I think he was 2 or 3 years old as a child, that soul connection allowed him to just grow in some way, and to have that assurance that he wasn't being abandoned and that he was loved. And then a few months later, the 2 people the same got in touch with me again, but again completely separately of each other, completely independently. And had said, you know, he's grown so much, and he's now become everyone's favourite child. Like, everyone comes to the orphanage and just wants to be with him. And like, he eventually was adopted, which I was really happy about. I was very sad that I wasn't able to adopt him, but very happy that he went to a family. And what I learned from that experience, it took me a while, because I was very much like, how can I have such a strong connection with somebody but not be allowed to adopt him? Like, I'd been through a process, and I won't go into it here, but I'd been through a process and it wasn't to be. So I couldn't understand that. I was like, how can this be? But then I realised that sometimes you know, the biggest soul connections can come into your life for such a short period of time, but can teach you the biggest things.
So true.
And one of the things that I did get from that, one of the biggest things I got from that, amongst many other things, was that my long-term plan is going to be to set up a school and an orphanage. And it made me realise, so that meeting with that little boy and that experience made me realise, you know, how actually I do have a really good affinity with children, but just how much I love children, how beautiful children, the innocence of children, but also going back to a little bit what we spoke about earlier about the schooling system and stuff, and how children go into schools and unfortunately they're ripped away from who they are. You know, they get very pushed into their ego very quickly and start becoming something that they believe they should be, or they're told they should be, rather than who they actually are. So I really want to create something, you know, a schooling system, and the orphanage itself and the school, whereby you keep children in their heart, you know, and allow children to stay connected to who they are, to know that they're loved no matter what, and you know, to create a school, like much like I guess the Steiner school and the Green School in Bali, something along those kind of ideas, where you work with the children to, you know, to work within the realms of what they're passionate about and what they want to do. And so obviously I've still got a long, that's a long way off. I'm not ready for that yet, but
that's what that brought for me.
Yeah, so that's so like I got completely off course really. I don't know, we're talking about what I'm doing when I'm not working. But yeah, so I'm developing the mediumship. Like working as a healer, public speaking. So that's something that I'm trying to get used to. So I'm doing Toastmasters and writing speeches and stuff like that to try and again everything all the work that I do is all sort of trying to be inspirational, is trying to inspire people to connect back to their hearts and their souls and walk the path that their soul wants them to walk instead of what society tells them they should be, or what they've grown up to believe.
Can I just ask you, where does that come from and why do you feel?
It's a hard one to explain that because it comes from inside you. It's something that is within. Each individual has their own thing that is within them. For me, gosh, I'm going to have to start going into the real crazy talk. We've already gone there, so in for a penny, right? But for me, this is something that's, even though I've kept it well hidden for a long time as I've been, walking a different path. It's something there's a teacher within me, there's an inspirer within me that has always been there, and there's a teacher within me that has. It's yes, wow. And there's a teacher within me who has had to teach myself at times. It's almost like there's been two people within me. There's been the one person who's still trying to find its way through this life and work out who I am and where I'm going, and try and steer, navigate myself through the complexities of this world that we live in. And then there's been the other part, this deep, this wise part of me that has always been guiding me within my own journey. And there's times that without that guidance, I could have gone very off course. And there's times, I could have been in very, very dark places and things that a lot of people might well have needed help for. But this voice within me, and I believe we all have this voice within us, absolutely. But I know this voice within me is so strong that it has been able to guide me out of some dark places.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I think this is something that, where I was going to say, where we start to go a bit crazy here is, for me, this is past lives. For me, this has been, I've been a teacher and an inspirer and a medium and all of these things through all of my lives. I'm very connected now to a lot of my past lives. They come from, I've done some past life regressions, but they come through dreams, they come through just knowing, they come through inspiration. There's so many different ways that I get inspiration about my past lives, and knowings about my past lives. But yeah, I've seen a lot now, and throughout there's one theme, the same theme throughout all of it. It's always coming to each life to try and help to guide man back to his heart, back to the soul, And, but that it leaves you scarred as well, because if you look back to even just recent centuries, you speak out, these kind of things, you're labelled a heretic.
A witch.
A witch, definitely been burnt at the stake and drowned a few times as a witch. All the gifts I have, because I do work with these gifts, these beautiful gifts, which we're told are wrong, or they're not gifts, or they're your imagination, and all of these things. And I say in previous lifetimes would have seen your tongue cut out, lots of torture, all of these awful deaths. So for me, working through that in this life has actually been a very, very big challenge, to get back to a place of finding my voice again and reconnecting with those gifts, because I literally live with the fear of, consciously I know that I'm not going to be burnt at the stake, but I live with the fear of the connotations of that, people's view of me, what people are going to say, how people are going to treat me. It's still very much there. I live with the fear of public humiliation. That's been a thing for me for a very, very long time. So doing things...
I guess not even just personal, your past lives, but just in general, the standing on the shoulders.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
Of everyone who's made the way.
Yeah.
Who have been sacrificed and...
it's all there. And we, even, as I say, we don't get burnt at the stake in this life, there's still a lot of things that happen in this life. we now have social media. Social media is the new burnout mistake, right? You know, if you do something there, the humiliation that gets passed across, the shame, exactly. So there's, you know, it's a different country, but there's somebody at the door. So yeah, we live in a different century of different ways, but there's still all of these things there that we can still feel that persecution and that shame and that humiliation. So that is something that I'm having to work very, very hard to get through.
When you said this voice, you said it was hidden. Was that a conscious, were you like, is it because of the shame, or just it was hidden because you weren't really I guess it's all of it, because the voice was always there inside me, but I didn't really, I knew that it was working there, but I didn't understand it. So if you think back when I was, I'm nearly 41, so back when I was like 17, 18, when a lot of this stuff started to really come into fruition, or really become real for me, the internet wasn't there, or it was just starting to come about. So you couldn't really look up stuff on the internet. You just couldn't, and there weren't many people to talk to. Like now, it's actually incredible now that the fact that I'm sitting here right now doing this so openly, shows a lot about my own journey, but it's also a lot about how open, and so how much easier it is to speak in the world that we live in now. It is becoming easier. More people are becoming conscious of this sort of stuff, and I found that with myself, you know, I talk about it openly now, and I find that everybody that I speak to is actually very open as well. And I think it's twofold here, because as I've started to step into my own power and own this myself, and I'm like, do you know what? This is who I am. I do speak to dead people. You know, this is what I do. This is who I am, and I'm very happy to own that. The more I own it, the more people are like, oh, that's great. You know, we want to hear more about it. But when you're fearful yourself, when you're not owning it yourself, people sense that energy within you unconsciously, but they do, and you also naturally attract people to you who are therefore going to give you what you want, because what the universe thinks you want is people who think you're crazy, or people who are going to say those things to you, because that's how you're vibrating. So it is twofold. As I say, I've stepped more into my power now to own it, so I attract those people to me who are happy and open to listening to what I'm saying. But also I do think we are stepping into a much more conscious place where people are more open, and people are believing a little bit more in this, and do actually genuinely want to know about some of this stuff. And I guess, like, as you say, you're being more open when it comes, because it's really easy to be skeptical about these kinds of things, I think.
And I was myself for a long time as well, skeptical of my own self, what was going on within my own being. So
that's so true.
So you can't blame other people for being skeptical when you're like not understanding it within your own space. So
but when it comes from someone that someone knows, maybe it's a bit different, because it's like, oh yeah, well, obviously I'm not going to not believe you, you know?
Hopefully not. But so there has been a lot going on, a lot of development.
I think it's amazing that you can find that voice. And like you say, it's on all of us, but it's just, how do you bring it out? And trusting it. It's one of the things. So I've been developing mediumship for about 5 years now. That's true.
And one of the hardest things, so it's such a natural gift, and it's a very strong gift. I know that spirit are there all the time. I know that they're wanting to connect. I know that's all there. But the hardest thing in the development is undoing everything that you've been taught. Undoing all of it's just your imagination, you're just crazy. Undoing everything like that, and trusting that because with mediumship, it's not, I spoke earlier about with the astral traveling situation where I would see people walking around my room. And that was very strong. But generally, when you're working on a mediumistic level, you're not really physically seeing people walk around. It's all in your third eye. And so you would blend with it. It's your soul blending with another soul, and you're sort of feeling them and getting to know them by feeling them. You might hear something, you might feel something, you might sense something, you might just know something, but it's not a conversation where you're just picking up the phone and having a chat like me and you are. So you're picking up little bits and blending little bits, but so trusting what you're feeling, trusting what you're sensing, trusting something that you're seeing in your mind, a vision that you're going into, and then you get a vision, and it's not as simple as just saying I'm seeing a dog. You have to then go into the dog and what's the story behind this dog. So it is a difficult what's the word, I can't remember the word, but again, it's a difficult gift to master in itself. But you've also got that trusting, because it's so subtle. It's not like being hit over the head by a brick. You're literally gently, subtly feeling this change of energy around you. So there's a lot of self-doubt with mediumship.
I think as well, just the way that we are in the world, everything is very external.
Yes, yeah.
To actually tune in and to pay attention to the subtle things.
Because we're used to everything. It's like overload of everything, isn't it? Like we've got music coming, we've got TV. That's sensory overload. That's which is very intense sensations that we're used to, but like this is a very, very subtle.
And we easily missed.
Very easily, and this energy blends as well. As a medium, obviously, I'm developing, working with spirit, but we're also working. All of us need to be developing our ability to blend with the energies of each other, because we are all
unconsciously
energy.
Bumping in.
Yes, exactly, and that's the when you walk. So that's it, you see someone you walk into a room and there's somebody you just feel automatically drawn to. You're like, wow, I just feel really drawn to them. Or there's someone else that you're like, oh, I don't want to be around them, and you don't know why, but it's just the different energies and the different. We're all vibrating on different levels, and so some energies work well together at this stage, but that could change as somebody else's vibration.
That's the biggest one,
change, exactly, being open to that, exactly. We know all about change.
So this is a very big change from going from as a stockbroker,
huge, into
a completely different playing field, really.
Yeah, very much so. It could not be further apart, really, could it?
Actually, can you just talk a bit about when you were sick and how it pushed you into?
So God, where do I start with that? So where to start? So I was very sick for 6 years, which came about. It was basically, in hindsight, I now know that it was something called exhausted adrenals or adrenal fatigue, which was working in a very stressful environment. Also, I was work hard, play hard. I was putting a lot of bad things in my body. I wasn't at all conscious about what I was eating or drinking or anything else that was going into my body at that time. So I was obviously causing a massive imbalance in my body. But I was going to the doctors, and they, fortunately, our doctors are very overworked here, and they're trained really only in prescribing pharmaceuticals. So that's what was happening. I was walking through the door and I was getting written a prescription. I was put on antibiotics for, I think it was somewhere between 1 and 2 years, and I was taking 4 antibiotics a day for a long period of time. And I was going back into the doctors with all of these, what I now know to be symptoms of the overuse of antibiotics. But they weren't putting 2 and 2 together, and neither was I at that point, because I wasn't conscious to anything like that, and I was very much in a stage where back then where you just trust your doctor and your doctor knows best. So I was going in with all these different symptoms, which were being created by the overuse of antibiotics, and I was just getting prescribed more antibiotics and more tablets to then negate the symptoms I was getting. So I just ended up becoming very, very sick, and I went travelling for a bit. I was actually made redundant, which was a huge blessing. I didn't understand about manifesting at the time, but I was thinking, like, I really want to go travelling, but I don't have the guts to walk away from my career at this stage because I'm so early on in my career. And then an incident happened and my desk got made redundant. So I was like, oh, this is actually great, and I went travelling for a bit.
So completely irrelevant to your.
So it was what? Sorry.
That wasn't to do with like.
Wasn't to do with that wasn't to do with me being sick. It was just something that happened.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is great. I can go travelling. But when I was travelling, I actually had. I travelled for a few months fine, and then I missed out. I started to develop colitis, but again, it went undiagnosed for years, for several years. So colitis is like Crohn's disease. It's like I guess as described, like a serious inflammation of the bowel, which can lead to you losing the bowel if it goes untreated.
Wow.
So much so, like Crohn's disease, I don't want to get too graphic with it, but you spend a lot of time in the toilet. So it wasn't good. Obviously, no nutrient. I became deficient in every single vitamin and nutrient and mineral because nothing was digesting within me. So when I went travelling, I didn't have enough antibiotics to take, so I was taking less, and so that symptom reduced. But I was fine, and then I actually had some vaccinations done to go to. I was in Australia and I was going to Thailand and Fiji, and so I had vaccinations done to go to these places.
Yeah.
And I had the vaccinations done and got so sick, I was really sick for about 3 days, couldn't get out of bed. And then I got over the flu symptoms of the vaccinations, but after that everything just went downhill. I couldn't get out of bed. So when I got home, I was going to a doctor saying, I think I've got ME, and they were just like, I was saying I'm tired all the time. They're like, oh, tired? Oh, maybe you've got depression, have some depression tablets. And I was like, no, I'm not depressed. I'm starting to feel depressed off the back of everything that's going on. But I know that depression isn't the cause. It's becoming a symptom. So luckily for me, I said no to the antidepressants. But yeah, it was just the doctors just weren't. I don't mean to be disrespectful here at all to doctors. That's not my intention. I know they are working in what I would say is a broken system. So I think it's. I never want to single out any specific doctors or anything like that, because I think they are doing their best within the system that they are working within and the system that they are trained within as well. But unfortunately, that system that does just lead to handing out a lot of pharmaceuticals and never really getting to the root cause of what our problems are, and not looking at diet, and not looking at how our body is actually all connected. They tend to look at one part here, one part there, and it's the connection of everything within our body, and mind, body, and soul as well. So
not just body.
Exactly. it's when we're out of balance, everything becomes out of balance,
and your life as well, your environment.
Everything. It's just everything. It's everything together. So we do obviously need to start looking at that's something we need to change. Obviously that's a long process, but hopefully, as people become more conscious, we can start working towards that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just became very, very sick. I got rushed to hospital a few times. I was having weird reactions to stuff. What else I did? So in the long run, when I went to Hong Kong, I actually found this incredible holistic. So I moved to Hong Kong. I forgot to mention that. So amongst all of this, I moved to Hong Kong as a stockbroker for 4.5 years, and that in itself was, Hong Kong. It's an amazing place, but it's a crazy place. It's like noise pollution, light pollution, air pollution, food pollution. It's everything. It's just like we talked about sensory overload earlier. Hong Kong is sensory overload, and then do it as a stockbroker as well. It was full on and sick. But I found this incredible holistic doctor who was also a fully trained GP. And for me, this is absolutely where we need to be. So she's fully trained GP, but she would only prescribe pharmaceuticals as an absolute last resort. So she would work with you in all these different ways to try and get you back into mind, body, soul, everything getting its way back into balance. So she got me off all the pharmaceuticals, and I was finally diagnosed with a colitis, with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I eventually got diagnosed with acute stress, because obviously I was working still whilst having all of these issues. I'd been saying to my doctors in the UK for ages, I know it was the vaccinations. I know that's what caused me, because that's what sent me on the downward spiral. And I hadn't said any of this to her, and she said, have you been travelling? You seem to have picked up something. And I was like, oh, these vaccinations. And she was like, okay, yeah, now we know what we're working with. So, and I think we discovered that the fact that I was I'm not saying that, by having if I just had the vaccinations on their own, I would have been fine, I'm sure. But it was the fact that my body had become so weak, my immune system was weak, I was deficient in all these vitamins and minerals. So when I put these vaccinations into my body, I wasn't able to fight anything off. So I think I basically took on, I think one of them must have been live. I think it was so many years later that I thought I got the diagnosis that I couldn't fully say, but I think it was typhoid that was live. I could be wrong on that, but I think I basically got typhoid, I think so. But so I basically ended up having this illness that was put into me through the injection as well. But went undiagnosed for years, so I was so sick, and you don't get any support either. Like when you don't have a diagnosis, everyone just tells you you're crazy. Everyone just tells you you're being lazy. Everyone just tells you, So that was very difficult in itself.
Tried it.
What's that? So I tried it. Yeah, tried it. Yeah, it was that lack of support I found very difficult as well. Was people not understanding, not being able to explain to your work colleagues why you were like that, and so that was difficult. So that affected my mind, my body, my soul. It affected all of that as well. Yeah. So eventually, this doctor was helping to support me through all of this, but she eventually said, "Look, I've got to be honest with you. I can support you through this, but you're not going to get better until you leave your job, because it's a psychosomatic illness. The more stressed you're getting, the more you're doing this."
What an amazing doctor.
She was. I mean, I don't know. There'll be many people who say like, "Well, we can't all afford to leave our jobs," which is true, but health.
But not true.
Yeah, exactly. There's ways of doing things, and our health is the most important thing.
Yes, so that's true.
And obviously, I don't want to start going down a way of saying how we can all, we can change things. But there's always a way of doing something with your health, and you can change the way you're doing it. You can maybe work more from home. There's always an option. Or even if it seems like a small option to begin with, there's always something that can be worked with. But this is obviously, we're talking about my journey rather than trying to encourage other people to leave their jobs here. This should come with a warning. So eventually it took me about a year of her saying that, because obviously I was petrified. I was like, this is all I knew. This is as I mentioned earlier, this is how I defined myself. Yeah. I was petrified of it, but it got to the stage where things were so bad that I recognised I had no choice but to do that. So I left and went travelling for a year and didn't really know what I was doing and where I was going, and I was just like.
Where did the redundancy come into it then?
Sorry, that was a previous job.
Okay.
So a previous job where I travelled for a while, and then I came back and went straight back into work again. Yeah. So it's a long story. The story of my life. I don't think we've got time for it, so I'm jumping all over the place. So I left.
Okay, so this is the last kind of job.
Yes, the last job that I did. Yeah, so left, went travelling, developed all these different areas, so still now 5 or 6 years later, I'm still working on the development. As it's mentioned about the mediumship, it's I've been developing that for 5 years. It's a long development process, and as I say, the undoing of our negative thought process, but it's also all of the development. I'm doing all this development to be able to step more into the public eye, to be that inspirational speaker that I know I am, and to be that inspirational teacher that I know I am, but getting myself to a place where I'm getting over my fear, or getting to that place where I feel that I am ready to step into that's a long process. It's not something that's come overnight, and it's a lot of hard work. But when you asked earlier about how you know what that voice is, like when you connect to that, and a lot of us are very disconnected to that when we're doing our normal lives, but I've been lucky enough to be pushed into a place where I've almost been forced to connect to that, which I'm very grateful for. But when you do connect to that, you just know what you've got to do, and it doesn't matter how hard it is. You just know you've got to do it. And I tell you what, standing up for the first time and doing a speech, or not even a speech, stepping up for the first time and just saying, "Hi, my name's Niaby," and this in front of an audience, petrifying, like literally petrifying. For somebody who is terrified of public speaking. And again, this goes back to past lives. As I said, with every time I've spoken my truth, I've been tortured somehow. So I hold that in my being. So pushing through that and standing up for the first time, it was so scary, and it's still scary now. I've been developing with public speaking for 2 years now. I've only given 3 speeches within that time, because it's taken me that long to just to get up and say, "Hi, my name's Niaby." So now I'm getting to the stage where I'm writing speeches and giving speeches within the Toastmasters group. But it's taken a long time to get there, and I'm still petrified when I stand up in front of an audience and do that, but I know it's what I need to do. So I'm doing it. Just trusting and pushing through and doing it.
It's nice that you have that certainty, because I think that's what most people are looking for.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that lack of certainty, or that lack of connection with yourself and what your passions and what your dreams are and what you want to do, which is what creates a lot of the difficulties and frustrations that we all have as human beings.
So are there ways, like when you left a job, that you managed to, is there anything specific that you did to tune into that more?
It's so many things. That's the thing. There are so many things and so many different ways that all of us can walk our paths. For me, obviously, travelling for me is travelling. My soul takes me travelling all the time anyway. So I went travelling after. That was something I'd known I'd wanted to do for several years. Since the last time I'd travelled for a small period of time and then went back to work, I knew that was something that I wanted to go do on a bigger scale. So the travelling and just getting to know myself, I think travelling definitely allows you to do that, because when we're here, we have that label put on us. We are this person. We went, isn't it like our school friends know us as a person, our work friends know us, our parents know us, our families, we are known to be the person that we have grown to become. But that keeps us in a box. And so when we travel, and I think that's why so many people do this now, and I'm so happy, it makes me so happy when I hear that people are going travelling. It's something that I would always encourage, even if it's for a short period of time. Even if you can only get 2 weeks off of work, but you just go by yourself and you just go do something like that, it allows you to not be the person that everybody has expected you to be, and the person that you've expected yourself to be as well. And I think you even surprise yourself when you start to find, hold on, actually I'm reacting, I'm being different, this isn't who I am at home. And it's a beautiful feeling, that, and it's a feeling of absolute freedom, freedom is what our soul craves. So when we give our soul that freedom, it actually allows the soul to speak more, because it's getting what it needs, you're nourishing it with the food that it needs almost. And therefore that gives the soul more strength, I guess, to become louder within you. So for me, definitely, I travelled for the best part of a year, and it was just, the adventures I had on that. Then obviously I had the orphanage. I went to the orphanage, and I drank ayahuasca in Peru. So I spent 2 weeks drinking ayahuasca there, and that in itself was just the most incredible experience. And in fact, that was actually what connected me to the mediumship, because I knew I was a medium, and I'd blocked it out for 10 years. I'd said, look, I'm going to come back to you, when I'm ready, but I'm really not ready now. I'm just starting my career as a stockbroker. I'm not ready to be weird yet, Now I embrace the weirdness, but, then I wasn't ready for that. So I'd said I will come back, and my last year or so in Hong Kong, I was starting to feel that coming, but I still had a lot of fear around that. And so when I was travelling, and ayahuasca absolutely called me. It was not something that I went looking for. In fact, I was terrified of doing something like ayahuasca, like something that was hallucinogenic. That was not my thing.
So different.
What's that? Sorry.
It's so different. Now it's very natural, like you tried it a few times, but back then it was just like, this is.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know what it was before I went travelling. And then when someone explained to me what it was, I was like, what, I'm gonna I'm gonna get out of my head and not know this reality. I was like, whoa, no thank you very much. I was very interested in the spiritual side of it, but I actually really wasn't interested in the hallucinogenic side at all. Things just kept coming whilst I was travelling. It just kept appearing in different places, or someone would talk about it, or I'd see something about it. It just kept coming in different ways. And then I mentioned earlier that I split up with my boyfriend, and I actually checked myself into a 5-star hotel for a couple of days. So I was like, I just need to be somewhere where I can, order room service, watch movies, not have to deal with anyone, and just, not have to leave the room. Yes. So whilst I was in there, I was like, well, I don't want to be on the travelling circuit. I would really like to just take myself off on a spa weekend or something for a couple of weeks where I just don't, it's just about me, and I can process what I'm going through right now with the breakup. And I typed in spa retreat in Peru, and the first thing that came up was ayahuasca, and I was like, I know, I'm meant to do it, aren't I? So I literally booked it at 6 p.m. that night, got a flight at 6 a.m. the next morning, and at 6 p.m. the next night I was drinking ayahuasca, so I didn't really have any time to think about what I was doing, which is generally how I do like to do things. I just like to be, do you know what, I feel I'm meant to do something, I'm just going to do it, and then, you know, I turn up and go, holy crap, what am I doing here? But I've had no time to panic about it. So it works for me, you know. Rock up at the bottom of a mountain. I don't know why I'm at the bottom of this mountain, but I'm here now and I can't turn back, so I'm just going to do it. But yeah, so I went and did that. I hadn't done any of the 2-week diet or anything, so I was crazy sick during it because I was very toxic. I was, you know, just come out of a relationship which left me with very toxic, you know, energy around me. I'd been eating toxic food. You know, just everything. I still had just toxic products and toxic everything within me. So yeah, throwing up was quite intense. The first two times I drank, the first 2 ceremonies were tough. But what I was going to say with that, the whole process of those ceremonies of drinking ayahuasca was reconnecting me back to the mediumship. It was showing me that spirit are around me all the time, and they're trying to connect with me, and they have information they want to share with me, that they want me to share with others. But there was also saying, you need to get over your fear. And so again, I mean, I won't go through everything that happened in ayahuasca, but the whole process was helping me to get over my fear of what being a medium was, like how it was going to change me as a person, what people were going to think of me, you know, all of these different things. And I walked out of ayahuasca, and at that time I didn't have a blog, but I was writing emails to people at home about my experiences. And because I just left Hong Kong, there were traders on there, stockbrokers, you know, people who were very definitely not, you know, into spirituality or anything like that. And I wrote this email about saying I've just done ayahuasca, and it's the big thing that I've learned in ayahuasca is that, you know, I need to own myself as a medium. And so here I am telling you that this is what I am. And I even wrote like, you know, pressing send pressing the send button on this email is going to be one of the hardest things I've ever done, but here goes type thing. And I sent that email. And that was it. That was the first step to me owning this is who I am. I'm a medium. I do see dead people. Blah blah blah. So I was guided off the back of that to then once I finished travelling to go back to London and to enrol in a mediumship course, which I did. But almost as soon as I did it, I just had this really strong feeling that I wouldn't necessarily be working with mediumship in the normal way, which in the traditional way, i.e. bringing people's loved ones through from the other side. Not to say that I won't do that as well, and that's what I've been developing for the past 5 years, is doing that. But I just felt that I was going to connect with this higher being, highly enlightened being, whatever you want to call it, and that we would write together. I can't remember. I can't remember now if I knew I was going to write a book with him or not. I can't remember what my thought was then. But so I kept developing, and a year and a half later, I ended up connecting with this highly enlightened being through one of my mediumship classes. It was a trance class that we did. Well, I wasn't doing trance mediumship, but we just ended up just sporadically doing this trance thing. And trance is where you actually connect more strongly with, like, you blend your energies in a more strong way. I'm not very good at explaining trance, to be honest. But rather than it being, you know, the spirit standing back slightly, and you're still blending, but it's more like the spirit more becomes you, or you become the spirit, I should say. So it still comes through the mind. It's still mental mediumship, but it's just a lot stronger. So I blended with this particular spirit, and it was beautiful. I've never felt like wisdom or I can't remember the other thing, but just this innate wisdom and peace. I've never felt wisdom and peace like it. And, you know, he energetically moved my head from side to side, so he was using my eyes to take in the room. And it was just pure energy. It was just like, my head could never move as slow as it was. Just like, I can't even do it. It was just it just slowly moved my head round, and I just felt like I'd been joined by this really wise wizard, which I thought was a bit odd. But yeah, so that happened, but we just blended, and then we let it go. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. I'd like to do that again at some stage. But, didn't really think more of it. Yeah. And then a few months later, during a different mediumship class, a completely different teacher, they decided to do the same again. And this time with a partner sat in front of us, so they said, connect with somebody and bring some words of wisdom through. So, of course, it was the same wizard, the same wise wizard, who connected with me again. And this time we spoke, and as I say, it was like it was him speaking, but I was at the back of my head almost, so I knew what was being said, but it wasn't me saying the words. So these words came from beautiful, beautiful words of wisdom. And as I was listening to what was being said, I was like, wow, the words that are being used are so similar to the words that come through when I write. Wow. Because when I write, these beautiful words just come through, and I'm like, where are they coming from? I knew I was connected with spirit. I knew I was connected with spirit when I was writing. But I realised that it was this particular spirit that I must be connected to. Yeah, exactly, and I never knew. Yeah. So I decided to sit the next day with him on my own, and just at home, and connect and go into this light trance state, connect and just write and just see what was going to come. So I wrote, again, these beautiful words, and the words were just introducing him, introducing himself to me, and said, I'm glad that we're now connected, we've got a lot of work to do, please come and sit with me every day, and blah, blah, blah. Keep saying blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about beautiful words, and I'm going blah, blah, blah. But, I'm obviously not connected to him now. But yeah, so we sat, every day, and that first day that we sat together has ended up being the first day of what is now my book.
Love it.
So yeah, so that was really beautiful, and the way that all came, so we wrote that together, and it started off very much him sort of talking to me and saying, I'm glad we're connected now, and we need to get you over your fears, and we need to work together on this project, and blah blah. And I can't stop saying blah blah blah.
I didn't even notice.
Maybe I'll change it to etc. Sounds posher. But then it moved into talking to everybody as a whole, and again doing exactly what I say I'm here to do as a teacher, and an inspirer, and it's inspiring people to move back into their heart. And also really it's an interesting book. It's really focusing on how screwed up society is, and how we've come to be in a place where we don't even recognise how screwed up society is, and people are just living on the way that the basis of our society, which has actually got which is crazy, but because we're born into it, we don't even question it, which I believe many people are starting to question stuff now as we are going into this higher state of consciousness. But yeah, that's really what the book is. It's basically saying, look, we need to shake things up a little bit here, and get back to being from here instead of being from here.
And it's not quite out yet.
No, so basically it's coming. I finished writing it 3 years ago, and it was actually really beautiful. I'd like to share the story, because it was my dad passed away. He passed away through cancer, and that was 4 years ago now. And I connected with this spirit. Well, I was writing with this spirit whilst my dad had cancer. I didn't know I was writing with him, but I was writing a lot of articles on cancer and the way that we treat cancer. And spirit had actually come to me before. I didn't realise it was him, just before my dad was diagnosed. We knew that something was wrong, but we did not for a second think it was cancer. And then spirit just said in my head, it is cancer, Niaby, and it's time for you to start writing. You can now start writing about this from the heart, because I'd wanted to write about sickness and the health, the way that we treat this, because of my own experience. And cancer was quite a powerful thing for me. I did want to speak about the way, or write about the way that we were currently treating it. And so it was almost like my dad getting sick then gave me the voice, gave me a voice to be able, or a platform to be able to speak. So I was writing with this spirit about cancer. But the book actually came after my dad passed away. but I finished writing it. So I trekked Everest. It was something, again, one of these things that just came to me in the shower saying, you need to trek Everest. And I was like, no, I don't. And it was like, you do, you really do. And I was like, I really don't have an interest in trekking Everest. But I know this voice when it comes that it's something that I need to do. And so I did exactly what I said. I booked it, didn't give a second thought to it, and then rocked up on the mountain and just went, what am I doing? But actually, I was meant to trek it with other people. There was meant to be a group of us, but it wasn't long after. It was a few months after the earthquake.
Love it.
So everybody dropped out, and it was just me. And my suitcase turned up a day late, so I had to start the trek a day late. And that ended up being on my dad's birthday. So it was the first birthday since he'd passed away.
Yeah.
And so I ended up starting the trek on that day, and then I sat down to write a little bit of my book when I'd got back from the first day of the trek. Sat on a beautiful mountain writing my book, and what started to come, I was like, this sounds like a conclusion, and I just kept going with it, and it ended up being the last page of my book was written in Everest on my dad's first birthday since his passing, which I thought was beautiful, just because I do feel that my dad's sickness is what gave me the voice and the platform to speak in the first place. So that was just a nice little story. But where were we going? So we were talking about what was we actually saying about the book?
Oh yeah, it's not out yet.
Oh yeah, about being probably so. I can't remember. There was a connection with my dad there, and I can't remember what it was. But
3 years.
3 years. Oh gosh, I actually can't remember what the connection with my dad was. But it has taken 3 years for me to be ready to publish this book. I didn't realise that. I was constantly like, why isn't anything happening with the book? Like I knew I wasn't meant to go and go out to publishers myself. I always felt that the publisher would find me, or it would come to me at the right time. But I kind of thought that would happen quite quickly after the book was written. And it was just never coming, and I'd be like getting frustrated and be like, why isn't this happening? And I'd be like, right, I'm going to send something to a publisher, and I'd just get this gentle pushback and say, it's not time yet. And 3 years later, it was finally time.
It takes time.
Exactly. But yeah, the time has come now, so now we're in the process of getting that done. And it's good. I do recognise that when the book comes out, obviously that's going to open so many different doors and avenues for things, for all of the things that I'm saying that I'm here to do and I want to do, and being potentially in the public eye, which terrifies me. I know a lot of people, there's people who will do anything to be that, and I'm like, I can't think of anything worse, but I know that's where I need to be. So I have to be ready for that. So I've had to do a lot of work with myself to get myself to a place where I am ready.
I'm looking forward to reading.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm ready yet, but I don't know if I am ready yet, but we'll see.
Well, you can only do what you can.
Yeah, and again, trusting in the divine timing of things, and trusting that the universe knows better than me. So
I feel like we could just talk forever, and I would love to. Time is a thing.
It is.
It's a real thing. So I'm just going to ask you a few more questions.
Sure.
I think that your journey is just crazy.
It is.
Such a contrast. Very stuck in one world, gone completely, quite deeply as well in there.
Yes. Yeah. I don't like to do things by halves. If I'm in it, I'm in it.
But it's amazing. And what's one thing you mentioned about the fear of how you're going to be perceived, and
and it's still there. It's still there, especially with the book, and speaking about being connected to this highly enlightened wizard. People's perception of that, it's still something I'm working through. It is. I mean, I know that I'm not crazy, and I know that he is who he says he is. But to go out and say that to other people, because if someone said to me some of this stuff, I'd be thinking, especially when I went back as a stockbroker, when I still wasn't connected to that, I'd be like, that girl's crazy, so I appreciate and understand that there's going to be people who think that, and I have to get myself to a stage where, again, I'm ready to own that and just ready to be, do you know what, I accept it. I accept that people are going to, some people are going to think that.
There are
but,
other authors, I'm sure you've heard of, who have done similar.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my book's very, I say it's very much in the same ilk as like conversations with God.
Yeah.
And then the Law of Attraction, Abraham Hicks books as well.
Yeah.
So it is out there. And I've actually I've reread the Conversation with God books recently. I read them years ago. Funny enough, I read 2 of them years ago and I hadn't read the third. And when I started writing my book, I knew it was of a similar ilk. So I was like, I cannot read the third book until I've written mine, because I don't want my mind to be in any way influenced by anything else. It needs to be purely channeled. And funny enough, I just said the story about my dad and finishing it on Everest, and then when I finished the 10, 11 day trek, whatever it was, I then went to Pokhara to chill. It was a place Pokhara to chill, and I was just craving avocados. I was like, I know that avocados are what my body needs right now, and I found this little cafe, and it was perfect. So it had like smashed avocado on everything. It had Kundalini meditation thing happening. And I can't remember something else, but I literally spent all of my days in there just relaxing, and I walked in, they had a bookshelf and they had Conversations with God Part 3. Wow. So it was like as soon as I finished my book, then that book then was there for me to be able to read.
Yeah.
And it amazes me how the similarities, and I'm reading it, I've just read all 3 of them now, and it's been brilliant for me to reread these just before I'm going to put my book out there, because it allows me to see, well, first of all, to connect with that author, Neil Donald Walsh, and he talks about his difficulties with putting it out there and some of the the attacks that he got, but also he was told his book was blasphemous, and I think mine would probably be the same thing. But then you see how how inspirational he is, how many people he's inspired and how many lives he's changed, and that's what makes me realise, like, whatever fear I have, if I just inspire one person, if I change one person's life through this book, that's something to be hugely, like, I don't say proud, but that's not the word I mean, because that's about me. I mean, but I just mean that's something, you've done something for somebody else. That's incredible.
So I was going to ask you, how do you deal with the fear?
With the fear, I guess that's it really, is just trying to, it doesn't go away, but it's just recognising the reason it doesn't, but it's I guess it's walking hand in hand with fear, and recognising what my whole journey is for. Like I say in my book, I say that I always knew when I was younger that the first half of my life was about being selfish and doing what's right for me, and that should never be considered selfish, but that's just the way my unconscious mind portrayed it when I was younger. So I always said the first half of my life was about being selfish, and I knew the second half was about giving back. I didn't know in what way, and now obviously I understand it. And that really is what it's about, is that I recognise that is what I am here to do. That's the path that I am here to walk. So if I have to walk it hand in hand with fear, then that's what I have to do. Nice. But I think it's just knowing that that's what I'm here to do. So I've just got to get on and do it. Basically.
That's really nice. Another question I was going to ask you is, what advice would you give to someone else who's going through such a shift from like working in a city to get more in touch with their talents?
My advice, I think my advice for anything is, for most things really, is one day at a time. Like one day at a time, one thing at a time.
That's good.
Diet's a big thing. Changing your diet to a more healthy, conscious diet. I had to do that for my own health.
And it's journey.
It really is. It's so like.
It's funny that, isn't it?
It's daunting. Like when you look at I currently eat all of this and I need to get to a place where I eat all of that. You're like, how the hell am I going to get there? So it's one thing. It's like change one thing at a time. Add one extra thing at a time. It's just that one step at a time thing. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Allow yourself to make mistakes. And so I would extend that to the bigger journey as well. Trying to trust yourself, because that's one of the hardest things I think we all find as humans.
Yes.
Because we've been taught not to. That our society teaches us not to trust ourselves. not to be ourselves, not to do us, you know. So I think it's just trying to connect a little bit and start to listen to the voice, and it's difficult because there's the voice of the ego and there's the voice of the soul. But I think you just need to know that if it's anything that's negative or is telling you can't do this or anything like that, that's the voice of the ego. So it's trying to connect and listen to the voice of the soul. And the way to do that really is to find quiet time with yourself. Because again, we live in a world where everything's so full on, the sensory overload that we spoke about earlier. You know, we all have these negative thoughts, so none of us we don't want to be alone with those negative thoughts, because once we start to face them, whoa, you know, like where's that going to take us? But we do need to sit and face those thoughts at some point. So even if it's tough, and unfortunately this journey is like any journey, the journey of change, the journey of self, I should say, it is a tough journey. I'm not going to sit there and lie and tell you it's easy and everything.
Yeah, I'm glad you said
that. No, it's not. You know, it's a hard uphill struggle, but there's so much beauty on the way. And if you take it back, we spoke about trekking a mountain. Everest was not easy, but the beauty on the way was, you know, it literally takes your breath away. So, and you know, the place that you get to, you know, when you've reached that summit and that sort of feeling of like, oh, I've achieved this. So I think, taking that back to the journey it is an uphill struggle, but there's so much incredible stuff on the way, and the incredible stuff and the beauty is you. You know, it's but that's, you know, that's what it is. You've got to filter through some of the crap to begin with, and there is going to be crap, and the crap is those negative thoughts and all of that comes. We all have it. But what comes once you've reached the other side of that, and change is a very difficult thing, and I think we get very set in our ways because we're comfortable. You know, it's actually the easiest time to change is when things are really bad. Because then you're just so desperate for anything. We just have to look at Brexit and like Donald Trump as president for that. Do you know what I mean? That's happened because people are so desperate for change because they're not happy with the way things currently are, so they end up just going, just give me anything, just give me something that's different. But you know, we do that even ourselves, you know, so when we're desperate for change, it's easier to do. But when we're comfortable, and most, you know, a lot of the time we are just comfortable plodding along in the way that we are, and then we convince ourselves that we're happy with that. And it's very difficult. I mean, we've discussed this ourselves today with our own journeys. It can be difficult to make that decision to walk into the unknown when you're comfortable in what you're currently doing.
Unknown is unknown.
It is unknown. It's exactly what it does what it says on the tin, right? But actually, you know, when you do walk into, I know that from my own journeys yourself, when you do walk into that unknown, if you've got a yearning to walk into the unknown,
sounds like you've done that quite a lot.
I have, and it's all been incredible. There's not a single regret for any of it. It's all brought me to the most amazing, beautiful places. And the growth within myself. And if you've got any kind of urge at all, any kind of thing that's making you want to step into that unknown, even if it's small, even if it's a tiny inkling,
compared to the
fear, because the fear and that then you talk yourself into, but I'm comfortable here, and the fear, like you say. But if there's something that's making you want to do that, there's a reason for that. So you need to trust it, because what's going to come on the other side of that, you know, once you've walked through the fear, what's going to come on the other side of change is going to be something incredible. There's no way your soul is giving you that little inkling to take you somewhere if it's not going to be something that's powerful for you. So it's trusting, and again, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's the one step at a time, and just hearing the voice. And maybe you don't have to take that big step into the unknown to begin with. Maybe you just take the little steps, the little yearnings of the soul, and then you can see what comes from it, and it makes you like, that recognition of like, do you know what, I did that and this came. So then you start to build your trust with it a little bit more, and
next thing you know,
you're taking that great big adventure, and no looking back.
Nice, really, really nice words. I like it.
Thank you. Better than blah blah blah.
And then I think I just have one more question.
Sure.
And that is, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom is everything. Freedom is everything that we miss in our normal, in our daily lives, in our society. We're not free. I think we're told that we are, and we have this set up that we believe that we are, but we're so not. We're so far away from being free. And it was something, I've actually written something like this in the book when I'm doing the introduction to it, and saying when I was in Hong Kong and I was working as a stockbroker, and I had that fear of change, and then suddenly I went travelling and I had freedom for the first time. But it wasn't just the freedom of time constraints or not having a job to go to. It was the freedom for my soul to be able to do whatever it wanted to do. It was it's the freedom of my soul to be able to express itself in whatever way it wanted to do, and that I can't even put that feeling into words.
That's beautiful.
And all of our souls want to do that, and this is what we live our lives with these boundaries and these constraints. And every time, the soul doesn't want boundaries or constraints. The soul wants and needs to be free. And every time we put a boundary, because that's what that internal battle, that feeling of that anxiety that comes up within us. It's almost like the battle of the soul versus, the lives that we are living. It's the battle of the soul versus the battle of, I don't know, I can't think of the right words to put that in, but that horrible, I can feel it now as I'm talking about that resistance and that anxiety. When you'll know about it when you start to walk that path that your soul wants you to walk. You'll never feel freedom like it, and when you feel that, you won't want to walk back. You really won't. You'll never want to look back over that shoulder. There's not a single day that I have ever looked back at my old life with any form of regret. I know that I'm walking the path that I'm meant to be walking. Freedom is everything.
Wow, great last words. I love it. I'm just cool.
Well, thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing your story.
No worries.
I definitely feel very inspired.
Oh, good. That's what I'm trying to do. So, as I say, if only one person feels inspired, that's good enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.